Hello everyone, how's it going? We are streaming at the moment. Let me make sure everyone's aware. There we go, live on YouTube it tells me. Alrighty, there we go. So, let's check this out, getting all set up. All right. Make sure I can actually chat to everyone. All right, looks like we are up and going. Sorry, still getting used to getting everything started. So here we are. Alrighty, fantastic. Here we go. So, what we're doing today is painting waterfalls. This is going to be a part of my painting waterfalls or painting water tutorial. Let's see. Get some stuff up there. So this is kind of going to be the big overall piece that we're working on. And I've got all my main elements in. Now we're just getting it in, rendering, having fun. So here we go. You know, if you guys can see everything properly, hear everything properly. So at the moment what I want to do is kind of just pull in all the colors I can. I really want to get this palette organized and sorted out. That's going to be my main idea for here and now, and I think everything's just going to pull together as I do it. Values right as I'm doing it too. So kind of made sure that I've really separated my values kept a very solid scheme going.
You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
See what kind of normal painting layer. Yeah, I really want some value range to be able to paint this waterfall in. So I've toned everything down a bit, so that by the time we hit the values of the water, we kind of have a little more leverage to play with. I kind of want to make sure that I'm being conscious of that, because I know that if I'm not, I'm going to push away and get a little confused as to why it's not all working. Let's start recording this. I can't record while that's happening. Alright. That's fine. Make sure that everyone on there we go. Okay, here we are. So in many ways, it's kind of like the process of glazing, just adding lots and lots of different colors that I think might be relevant. I want to make sure that the light that's coming from the top is really cool, and that changing and swapping around of temperature is going to be most important. Alright, feel free to ask any questions if you have any, guys. There we go. Let's have a look. Oh, right. So I want to make sure that I'm getting some greens in there. You guys know I love a good bit of moss. So at the moment, the program I'm using is Art Studio Pro on the iPad. Here we go. We're gonna have more moss on this stuff that's kind of directly touching the water. And right now we're really just like trying to put in general ideas of color rather than coming in to give this, the details and the specifics all at once. Yeah, so I've got this this tutorial, this water tutorial. I've been working on it for the last little while, and this is the kind of culmination piece at the end of it. I'll be recording it and speeding up and talking over. But at this point I've kind of already gone through all of the concepts that I'm using. So now it's kind of just time to have fun. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about what's going on so far. I'm pulling in some color. Let's kind of imply some leaves in the background. At least get it there. Most of this painting's in shadow, so it's a really cool palette painting. I always have to try to remind myself not to try to over-define things. I think that's something that I really get caught up in. And so I have these areas like in here, which gets a really nice texture to it, but I don't think I really need to go in and you know, if I try to think about the objects of it too much, I'll completely ruin that texture. So I'm going to try and leave that as much as I can. As much as I can. Right. Hello, Nindoras. How's it going? today got some digital work going on. I've been working on a painting water tutorial, and this is kind of going to be the culmination painting of it. This is a giant waterfall. I love waterfalls. The best. How are you doing today? Okay, I do want to try and define some of these rocks down here. It's interesting. This is a really cool, by cool I mean like temperature-wise painting. I want to try and find the right kind of greens for it. Most of my paintings end up being rather warm. So I suppose actually these greens are really going to be hitting up into this blue section. So it's going to be interesting. It's always good to break habits. And Doris says, looking good. The idea of how the water looks to how it actually looks is different. Oh yeah, yours is accurate to the real thing. That's not surprising. Oh, you being so kind. Yeah. Well, the real tricky thing, the real interesting thing is the fact that you can have this idea about what real water should look like. And a lot of it comes from cameras using shutter speeds that we don't actually, like, our eyes don't see that way. And so you get this detail in photos that, in a lot of photos, that doesn't actually happen to us in the way that we perceive water. And so you just get this really interesting situation where a lot of people try to over-define water and kind of not focus on the idea of what the water is doing, because the way we perceive it is our, our brain tries to get rid of a bunch of superfluous information, so it doesn't really see the water so much as it sees kind of the main idea about what the water is doing, how it's moving, how it's looking. So yeah, there's this, like you said, there's this huge disconnect. But to some degree, you kind of got to play into that disconnect. I'd rather be on the side of how we perceive things, personally. So this water on here, basically I think it really needs a lot of shadow cast on it. So what have you been up to, Nindoris? I was gonna have a bunch of water coming in over here, but I'm not sure I want to do that. I feel like it was a nice idea while it lasted, but I don't think it's actually serving the painting well. Yes, that's better. Okay, but that does mean that there'll be a bunch more shadow coming in here. Alright. Tone down a bunch of this white stuff over here because it looks good now, but I don't want it to be white, so it's, as I move it and change it, it's going to completely change the value relationships over there. Let's push a little more blue back there. It's always interesting to play around with like color palettes I don't normally use, which is definitely what I'm doing right now. And Doris has been drowning in the sun. Oh, I'm so sorry. Graphic designer mainly. Christmas season is crazy, and planning what we do next year regarding art. I hear ya. Christmas season is crazy. I'm right there with you. Way too much stuff to do. Way too much stuff to do. Well, so what are you gonna do next year regarding art? My plans, when we come back for Christmas, I'm actually going to set up a kind of streaming schedule. Way more of a schedule. I'm going to do my touring Japan plein air stuff. And then all of my final paintings for my tutorials, they're all going to be streamed. Kind of like this. Color palettes is still tricky to me. Yeah. I'm gonna get your tutorials on color as soon as I'm able. Cool. I've still been working on that. I have one color tutorial up so far, and it really sets the groundwork of the things that you need to understand before you're kind of inundate yourself with color. The next color painting tutorial is after this water one. I'm going to get into kind of practical mixing, so that should be interesting. Do you paint digitally or traditionally? Let's like push this branch back a bit. David Itsu, hey, happy to catch my stream. I'm happy you're catching my stream too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where'd you catch me from? Instagram or Twitter, I presume. We are pulling together kind of my final painting for my painting water tutorial from Twitter. Sweet, that's exciting. Here, yeah, still getting used to this streaming thing. It's early days, and most of the time I end up doing digital. Oh no, sorry, what I'm saying, traditional pieces. Today, I've just got to get this piece in and done. So my main goal for now, I need to keep reminding myself that it's my main goal, is that I've got to try and put in as much color as I'm going for. Like I said, it's a bit of an unusual palette for me, but that's good. It means that I'm thinking, I'm not just doing things habitually, which is always good. Nindor says, mostly watercolor gouache lately. Rarely acrylics. In my case, though, sometimes do a little digital sketch or just a guide to what I want to get on the paper. Yeah, I do that too. I do that too. If I'm kind of seriously working on a painting, I will pull it together digitally first. If it's like a big painting. Digital just has this ability to answer all of your questions like super early, super quick. And if I can do that, though I know most of the time that I pull it into like real paint, it's going to be different, but nonetheless. Ooh. I really like that purple in there, but we'll pretend that it fits into the palette. We'll extend the palette a little. So yeah, at the moment, I'm really not worried about definition of very much at all. We'll just tighten it up as it goes along. Yeah, I'm doing some mix acrylic oil painting for a commission that I'm working on at the moment. That's good. I started off doing a bunch of oil work. That's where I started. So it's always nice to get back there. But it always takes so long. Alright, so I kind of want to come in here and pull together this section right in the middle. Hey, Amy. Nice to... Oh, you've been watching my tutorials lately. Thank you. I'm super excited about that. Yeah, tutorials are kind of... They're a recent thing that I've been doing. And I hope they've been serving you well. Like, that's kind of the point, is to communicate. But yeah, thanks for catching the stream. I'm excited you're here. Angie, how you doing? She says, or he says, sorry, doesn't matter. How are you doing? Did you finish those assets in gouache that you've been painting for a game? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Hopefully I get some more assigned to me, but we'll see. Yeah, they're fun. They're really fun to do. It's kind of nice to have something that... Yeah, the real nice thing about all of that is that they came to me and they wanted my work for me. Like, they didn't want... At that point, I was thinking, you know, I'm not going to do any more commission work. But they really tried to convince me that they wanted me for me, and that's amazing. Amy says, I really love the tutorials. I'm learning a lot from them. How are you today? Thank you. I am so glad to hear that you're like learning a lot from them. I am doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well. I have this big epic scene. This is for my painting water tutorial. I'm like speed it up and talk about the way that I'm doing water. I really made it a bit bigger. I could have just had more water in it, which is probably what I should have done, but I didn't. And I'm actually okay with that because you know I love painting plants and trees and stuff. But yeah, that the assets from the game. I actually I should be getting a couple more assignments from them. One of them, they said they need some splash screens, so I'm gonna do that. And she says they look beautiful. Do you know when this game is gonna be out? No, I don't really know when the game's gonna be out, unfortunately. I'm not entirely sure they know when the game's gonna be out. It's being run by this wonderful couple. So it's just a couple really who's working on it. And they're working hard. They're doing hard work. I'll have to ask them when the release is. Okay. Yes. Okay. I was a bit scared of putting in like really big greens because I don't want to overwhelm the rest of the painting. The rest of the painting really is blue, but this bluey purple kind of mix. Amy says, have you always focused on painting nature scenes, or did you start out with something else? I myself started out with strictly black ink drawings, then transitioned into nature scenes. And I'm hearing a lot about a game. Could you enlighten me? Oh, yeah, okay. Amy, so I've been working on doing assets and backgrounds and a bunch of stuff for a game called Lunaphon. So if you Google Lunaphon, you'll probably find some stuff about it. It's by this small games company in the UK. It's going to be really beautiful from all of the things that I've seen, and they put a lot of effort into everything they're doing. It's a side scroller, 2D side scroller, and so I'm providing a lot of the backgrounds and stuff like that, which is really nice. It's really nice to work on things that I basically would be painting otherwise, but then I get paid to paint it for these guys, so I love it. Yeah, so I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, so if you guys don't see the comments, that's probably why. Oh, but your first question, Amy, have you focused on painting nature scenes all the time? No, I used to do a lot more kind of more, I don't know, generic fantasy stuff. I really started off doing oil paintings, oil portraits. It's kind of what I wanted to do to begin with, and I'll get back to that thought. Let me show you something. When you have so much water in like this in a waterfall, you don't really see the color of the water. The biggest place that you see the color of the water is right before the water falls down like this. So when it falls down, it starts to aerate down here, but you get to see into the water. So if you manage to actually put the color of the water right here at the top, then you're implying the color of the water, and the whole thing starts to look and feel like, oh, it's got this color to it. Anyway, Aim was asking, yeah, so I used to do a lot of portraits, oil portraits, because I like that, and then when I started to, it's hard. That's a hard field to be in, to try and get work, because you really have to be connected, because it's not something that a lot of people can afford for the amount of time that you put into it. So, let's try to find the right color for this. I don't think it's going to be quite so saturated. Yeah, it's a really hard market, because oil portraits take a long time, and I wasn't very good to begin with. So I started off there, and then ended up doing lots of book covers, and I really enjoyed the kind of the fantasy element of all that, so I really kind of identified as a fantasy artist. But in the end, I had a bunch of people. I did a mentorship, and they were looking at my work and saying, you have all of these characters in your work, but you're really spending all of your time on the backgrounds, on the kind of the beautiful stuff in the back. So why not just paint that? There's no reason you need to be working on things you don't love as much. This is a really exciting thought. I agree. Okay, I gotta make more transition here. Amy says, Googling the game right now, looks beautiful already. Seemed like the perfect fit this game. Yeah. So they saw some of my work on Twitter, I think. They decided the same thing. But let's have a look. And so here's the other thing. So we have this like really really bluey purple light that's coming from above. Amy says, sorry for spamming the chat. No, I love the chat. Please, keep it up. We have this blue kind of purple light coming from above. And one of the things about water is it's called the Fresnel effect. So, as you look more parallel to the surface of the water, you end up it ends up being more reflective. So the reflections from the trees behind or from the color of the sky are going to get more intense as it goes up. So you end up in something like this, where now we're looking at horizontal body of water. It ends up having this really quick but smooth transition, which I'm probably not going to do perfectly right now, but that's okay. I'm not here for the details. Oh. Okay, there we go. Interesting stuff. I love painting water. There's so much interesting stuff you can do with it. So I'm gonna just try to catch some of these moments that I might actually see. I might actually see some of that watercolor color of the water in amongst all of this. Definitely now down here. So let's see what we can do as we start to put these colors in. I kind of want to get something a little warmer. I kind of want something like this, but I don't know how that's going to work. Yeah, it might be a bit too much. Might be. No, you know what? They might accent it nicely. Yes, actually, that's really good. Oh, that is so satisfying. I love it when you accidentally do something right. Isn't that nice? I was so concerned about this color bit. Oh, Robo Princess, hello. Welcome to the chat. Amy Spranger says, could you maybe elaborate a bit more on how you choose the colors when painting water? Sorry if you've already told anything I'm asking before I join in. No, it's fine. It's kind of expected. Let's see. How do I choose the colors for the water? Well, I'm thinking about the depth of the water. If the water is really deep, the color is going to be darker, it's going to be deeper, it's going to be more its own color. If the water is really shallow, then it's not going to be so much its own color. I'm going to really take the color from the things around it. For example, let's do this. If we think super hard about this rock here, I might darken it a bit to what I think it might be. If we're looking in through the water to the rock, which is what we're doing, but we're not looking through much water, we're just looking through a little bit of water, and at the angle that we're looking, because we're looking down into the surface a lot more, at this angle, it's not going to be super reflective. So what we're doing is we're looking at the color of the rock, and then we're moving in a bit more of this voluminous color, like the green thing that we've going. So I might pull this down. The rock's going to be a bit darker. So I'm going to make it just a bit darker as it gets underneath. And then make sure I'm pulling in this green. So I can kind of think of that, and as it goes down, it's going to get more of the... Oh, David Sue, got to run. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a wonderful time as well. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So that's kind of some of the idea for what we're thinking. For example, I'm also thinking that as this water comes out of the waterfall further down, it's going to get deeper. So as it comes this way, it's... Oh, I didn't. As it comes this way, it's getting deeper. So I'm going to grab the color that I have. I'm thinking that it's probably going to get warmer as well. Less reflective, and the reflected light that we're currently dealing with, the skylight, is cool. So it's probably going to get warmer as it gets less reflective. And darker as it gets deeper. And the volume of the water is taking more of that color, so... Generally, we're doing this. Yeah, and that feels nice. Got kind of probably a bit deeper over here as well. And let's come back up here, because now that that color's established, I might actually use it up here to be a bit more consistent. Amy says, also wondering, what are you currently working in? It isn't Photoshop, right? Yeah, you're right. It's not Photoshop. This is Art Studio Pro on the iPad. iPad Pro. Which is pretty nice. I really enjoy it. I've been playing around with the new Procreate, and I've been playing around with Painter Infinite Painter? Yeah. And they're all pretty on par with each other. I generally don't get too concerned about exactly what it is that I'm using. They all basically do the same thing. Some of this color in here. So I love the patterns that you normally see just as the water comes and hits down and then gets all turbulent and everything. And you get these patterns of just the bubbles, the aeration kind of moving around. It's always so interesting and beautiful. And you kind of use it to describe the movement and the flow of the water. Yeah, look at that. Amy says, I recently tried out an iPad Pro. Kind of liked it, but kept leaning on the iPad itself. Probably is something you get the hang of, but I suppose I'm leaning on the iPad now. It doesn't seem to have much problem. Here, let me give you a better look at. Here's a camera shot where you can see it. Let me see if it actually is a good camera shot or not. It's alright. It doesn't show the colors very well, but oh well. Alright, let me just pull everything back up again. Here we go. Yeah, so feel free to ask questions, any of you. I'm here to chat. All right, I want to do some put some shadows in. Especially from these rocks here. So these rocks can have a relatively interesting situation because they're casting shadows and they're getting darker as they go underwater. But there's also going to be aeration that comes in, bubbles and stuff that come around it. So there's just going to be interesting patterns of light and dark, but I just don't want them to... Yeah, that feels good. Let's actually do a bit more of that down here. Amy says, do you maybe have any recommendation for good reference books and such for nature scenes? I actually don't. I'm constantly looking for them. And I don't know. In the YouTube series that I'm currently working on producing, I'm doing a series of paintings, digital plein air paintings, based on places in Japan. And for that I'm using a mixture between photos that I find and Google Earth. So Google Earth has ended up being a pretty interesting thing to use for that. But it's not always intuitive to go back and forth between things. If you ever find any good reference books for that, let me know. I would love to know. Oh, hello. Maybe that's something I can compile and make one day, says Meredith. Yeah, absolutely. Reference sets for nature. I would love to. I think that's a great idea. Great idea. Alright, so now that we've got some of the shadows down here, I want to put the bubbles, that kind of aerated areas, back in. But I need to make sure that they're still in shade, still in the shadow. Yeah, I think that'll work. Amy says, having a hard time finding good references personally. Live in the Netherlands. You don't really have much pretty nature. You really? You don't have pretty much nature there? That's sad. I suppose it's cold a lot of the time, isn't it? Yeah, we actually live in a pretty good spot for plein air painting. I got lucky here in South Carolina. I've seen some places, some photos from the Netherlands. I'm pretty sure that I saw some photos and paintings and stuff from Kiri Leonard, an artist from the Netherlands, and they were just beautiful. So there could be some hidden spots there for you. Here we go. So here's one thing I really like to do when something changes. So here we're going from light to shadow. And if I can get a single line to single line of bubbles to actually make the transition very distinctly from the light to the shadow. And it does so much for describing that, and then I don't have to use as much other things to help describe that scenario. Amy says she loves it there in the Netherlands, but it's just flat and overrated. Hoping to travel a bit more. Travel always sounds really good, doesn't it? We're hoping to do a fair bit of travel. In the end, one day we'll be able to afford it. Okay, let's put in just a bit more of the water color in right here. That'll help. Amy says, what's the #1 spot you'd like to visit? Well, at the moment, I suppose my head's set on Japan, just because of the YouTube series that I'm doing. So I'd love to go there. I see some really beautiful things from Norway. What about you? Where would you like to go? I'd like to go like Ireland as well. So much beautiful stuff there. The game that I was working on, those guys ended up making a field trip for their game. Just jealous about not being able to go in. I'm just trying to put this. I really want the main idea of the painting to maybe be so primarily coming across here, like, so when you look at it, your eye kind of naturally comes down here. So I'm gonna put some light up there and stuff in the background to help that happen. And I'm also gonna sort of diminish some of the light stuff that's down here. It's still going to exist, but it's going to be more in the shadows and stuff, so you don't see it quite so acutely. There's not so much contrast when you first look at the painting. Amy says, Japan sounds awesome. I really wanted to go to Iceland. Yeah. It's expensive and a lot of rent a car there. Till I'm 22. Yeah. But I'm already saving up. You've been to Ireland. What was it like? So there's my wife loves horses, and there's this like tour across Ireland that's got all these horses. So you just basically horse ride across Ireland. So if you could paint and horse ride across Ireland, we would have our collective amazing scenario. And he says Ireland was amazing, so beautiful. A lot of people complained about the rain. Good thing I'm used to it. But if you hate rain, I wouldn't go there while it's full. That's good to know. I don't hate rain. Rain is hard when you have kids. Because kids, especially younger kids, just do so good outside. But yeah, I'd kind of expect rain if I was going. So feel free to ask. See, there's a bunch of you online, guys. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any, or tell us about where you'd love to go, travel. What you guys want to do in life? Mary says, I'm late to the conversation, but what are you painting today? Why did you choose to paint this? I am painting water. This is like my big cumulative painting for my water tutorial that's hopefully going to be out in the next couple of days. And in the tutorial, I've got a whole bunch of ideas and concepts that I've talked about in the stuff that I've already recorded, and then this is going to be the big painting at the end where I'm pulling all those ideas together and chatting about why I'm doing what I did. Yeah, so this is it. Using all those concepts we talk about in the tutorial and pulling them together. Let's see, Nandora says, I've been saving up to travel to the US out of country for the first time to visit a dear friend of mine next September, October. That'll be fun. The US is kind of crazy, kind of wonderful. I really enjoy it here. Amy says we don't have any mountains, so when there's even an inch of a height difference in landscape, I'm impressed. Mary says, that sounds awesome. Is it cheating to ask what concepts you're going to cover in the tutorial? Nope, not cheating at all. We're going to talk about what happens when something gets wet. That's important to know. That's like one of the primary things for communicating that something is wet, is this difference in value and color. It's called total reflective something, but it means that when it gets wet, a lot of the light gets trapped in the layer of water, and then ends up reflecting less light back at you, so it looks darker. So that's really interesting. And you can actually communicate a lot of water in some scenarios by just communicating the single idea. We talk about how to determine what's being reflected where. We talk about volume as color. So a volume of water has a certain color that's given to it by its algae and plankton attributes. And the color of what's behind the water and the color of the volume of water, you kind of go in between them depending on how deep the water is, which is a really interesting cheat sheet for that. We talk about refraction, just breaking it down so that you can think about it in simple concepts and not get overwhelmed. That's the main idea. Amy says, have you ever been in Europe? I have, for 2 weeks, to way too many places. So I don't really remember much of it. It's nice though. One day, I'll get back there. So Nindoris, where in the States are you gonna get to visit? In the tutorial, we're also covering what happens when water gets aerated, which is, waterfalls. A lot of the stuff I'm dealing with here, and how that acts differently than water that's not aerated. It's all really fascinating stuff. Okay. So I have a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, if I was thinking a bit more clearly, I would have just made more of this painting just waterfall. But I'm not complaining too much. I love the trees. It just doesn't make sense to spend quite so much time on trees when I'm talking about water. But I can speed it up and end up with a nice painting in the end. Amy says, wondering what time it is where you are. I believe there's a bit of a time difference. It's 21:52. Yeah, absolutely. Huge time difference. It is currently 3:53 in the afternoon. Nindores is going to Massachusetts. Could experience autumn that we don't have here in Ecuador. That'll be fun. That'll be really fun. I haven't really spent much time in Massachusetts. You'll have to tell me how it is. Oh, that was nice. Okay, adding that shadow onto the waterfall. That did good things. It did good things. So let's go ahead and just do that for a bunch of other things too. Shadow. The way that water receives shadow is different when it's aerated. So actually kind of receives shadow a lot more like a solid mass form. This is nice. I'm getting good vibes from this painting. And Dora says we have 2 seasons. Summer, which is kind of cold, and winter is hot as hell and rainy. Yeah. In Australia, there's basically 2 seasons. Hot and rainy. Never quite enjoyed that. It depends on the region. Yeah, no, I suppose that's true of everywhere, right? Because there definitely are more pleasant places in Australia. Sierra is always cold. Cool. I'm not sure that it's cool. I mean, technically it is. I'm so funny. No, I'm not. So like I was saying at the beginning, a lot of this painting, because I wanted to get a bunch of detail into the water, and the water is basically just like white foam, at least in the waterfall, I made everything else a lot darker. And that that gives me more values to play with to describe the water. So even as we speak, there's really no actual pure white. If I were to put that in, it would stand out. So at the very end of the process, we'll put in some of that pure white in just a couple of areas, and that's going to be nice, I think. Just make this a little more yellow. Amy says, did you always want to do something in the creative field, or did you want to be something else when you were... I always wanted to be something in the creative field. I don't think I ever... And even when I was at my worst and I thought that I couldn't make it happen, I still wanted to do something technical in the creative field, just so I could be in the field. But those were decisions out of fear. And can you tell us more about what part of the painting you're working on? Because I can't see your pen. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Good call. Here, I don't know how this part's gonna look. Let me check to see if I can. Yeah, look. Maybe I'll swap between the two, because you don't get as much good color in this, but Amy says, 2 friends of mine are from Australia and always get confused by the weather there. Well, it's hot. It's hot. It's hot. And rainy. Oh, but it's such a huge place. It really, depends on what's going on, where you are. Alright, I'm going to take a step back and try and think about what this painting actually needs. I think at the moment I'm going to work on up around here, because it's such an undefined area and it'll provide context for everything else that's around it, and then perhaps here as well. So just this top area. So I'm going to try and get this tree up and going at the top left, because that's a bit of a catch area where our eye is going to be drawn there. Oh, right up here. And like I said before, the whole idea of the painting is that there's this movement that goes down and up like that. So some of this tree up here is going to be highlighted in perhaps some of the only warm parts of this painting. So we'll see. That might actually not be a good idea. That might draw too much attention. But if I do that, no. Amy says, how would you say the iPad Pro compares to the Cintiq if I've used it before? I have used a Cintiq before. In fact, there's a Cintiq sitting right next to me, and I'm choosing to use the iPad Pro. That might tell you something. I love it. I love it. It's very responsive. Very... man, it just works so well. It's just like, people were trying to do this, to try to make something like this for such a long time. And then Apple just comes out of left field and makes it. It's just the perfect combination for artists. I was so thoroughly impressed when I first got it, and I still am. Still am. And Dora says, it appears we're not seeing the area you're working on in the left screen. Interesting. I'm going to try and keep an eye on that. Sorry about that. Still getting used to trying to get my kind of habits all in line for really making the streaming thing work. So you guys could give me as much of that useful help as possible. That'd be amazing. That would really help. Is it any better, Nindoris? Amy says, a few months ago I'm finishing art school and I've been working on setting up shop. I'm using a normal Wacom tablet and I think it's time to upgrade. But I keep going back and forth between the iPad Pro and the Cintiq. If you move around at all, if you travel at all, I would go with the iPad Pro. It's really, it just really hits that need so well. I first got it because my dad was coming over from Australia and he wanted to go all over the place. And I was like, I can't miss work for that long. So I got it and I haven't looked back. Okay, so we need to come back up here. Back up. Because I keep forgetting that this is what I'm working on. Indora says, I mean, when you have the shot of your hand, is when my hand's visible, right? When you switch to the other view, I only see the bottom and right rocks. So in the view that I'm currently in now, and I won't change it, is that good? When you have the shot of your hand and it's visible. Oh, it is visible. Hello, Danielle. Daniel, how you doing? Danielle? Digital, yes, digital painting. Isn't it exciting? This painting is for my water painting tutorial. It's kind of the culmination of everything that we learned in that tutorial. I speed it up in voiceover and everything, but super exciting. Yeah, go ahead and send me how it looks on Twitter. That would be perfect. Sorry, guys. Take a 2-minute break while Nindoris shows me what's going on. But yeah, so this is the painting for... I'm just gonna wait for that right here. This is the painting for the watercolor tutorial, the painting water tutorial. And I have a whole bunch of other stuff in it, clearly. But I wanted to have waterfalls. Thank you. I'm glad it looks awesome. I wanted to have waterfalls, and I wanted to have kind of some normal water areas. So I figured if I could have waterfall coming down and then resting at the bottom, as well as having that point at the top of the waterfall that you can see the water through, then I'd kind of all be set. And I have the waterfall doing a bunch of stuff. I suppose. Let's have a look. Okay. I don't think I have anything from Nindoris just yet. Here we go. Here, I want to make this part down here. So this is supposed to be some water right here, but it's super muddy. Super muddy. Mary, made it to a live stream. Welcome. Good to have you here. Amy says, I have a great view of what you're doing. If people have a bad view on Twitch, I advise them to switch to YouTube. But there you go. You've heard it. Heard it straight from Amy. I won't upload from the browser. Don't stress yourself about it. But if you have a way to show me what you're seeing, I'd love to see it. Okay, so this part here it looks really muddy, which means that it's a value problem. It makes me want to say that it's a color problem, because I always presume that muddy, unclear things are color problems. For some reason, I think we're just wired to presume that. But it means it's a value problem. The trick is, I don't want to catch any attention here. So, I think I need to darken the parts of the waterfall that are going down. So Mary, welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here. I'm so excited that you get to be here. How's your day been? We're painting water. Love it. I love painting water. It's so vibrant and it's so freeing. Like there are probably some ways you could ruin a water painting, but it does. There's so much different stuff going on. Mary's day's been good. I'm glad. Oh, Amy wants to know how old I am. You can't really tell by my looks. What if I told you I was 14? I would be lying. What's your guess? Let's have a guess. Everyone guess my age. Let's do it. I used to make people guess where I was from, because I live in the States and I have an accent. And I would get the funniest answer. I won't be offended if you're wrong. Let's see, we've got a 29. We've got a 29 going in. Does anyone else think 29? Guessing age is a dangerous game. Well, it's only a little bit of a dangerous game, because you know I'm asking, and I'm not gonna get offended. I won't guess your age. That's probably honest. Honestly, if you told me you're Amy says, if you told me you're 19, I'd believe it, but if you said you're 30, I'd also believe it too. And Doris says, oh, the problem is Twitch. Switching now, said the tweet. Okay, let me have a look at this, guys. Amy says, I know you have kids. It's true. And Doris says, the left screen doesn't change or move when you switch to it. When you use the one of your camera that covers your hand, the iPad, it works just fine. That is unfortunate. So I suppose I'll just stay here for a while. Well, I am 29. I am 29. How about that? So that was a really good guess. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Here, I'm going to clarify the value of this rock. I think that's going to help a lot. And maybe this. No, not that. I suppose I want this rock to come in front. Amy says, scared to turn 30? No. No, I'm ready for it. You know, for some reason, the young years of my life were not good and happy, wonderful years. So I'm so ready to move on. The last couple of years have been great. Last 9 years or so. But I'm not scared of turning 30. Here, let's put another rock in here. I don't know. I feel like this area, maybe it goes in and down and in and down and in. And it's stair stepping way too much. Mary says she didn't notice the archway. Yeah, it's subtle. It's not screaming at you, though. Everything kind of leads to it, but it's in the corner. Let's see. Someone just sent me a message. My wife says she'll take credit for the last 9 wonderful years. And so she should. I agree. I give her credit too. Mary says she's loving this. Ah, thank you. I'm loving this too. I wish I'd painted this sooner, but, you know, I suppose here we are. I'm loving this. Amy says, can you maybe tell a little bit of the difference between painting water digitally versus poster color? The difference, my friend, is timing. Timing. And that's probably true. That's probably the biggest difference overall. And you could say that kind of everything. That timing is the difference, because watercolor, poster color, gouache, it all acts different over time, because it's either wet or it's not. And if it's wet, then it's not wet for long, and it changes the way that it acts when it's wet. And so you're constantly playing this game of, like, I'm not sure catch up is the right word, but you know, I'll paint this like this now, and then I'll wait for like 10 minutes, and then it'll stop behaving in a certain way, and then I can do that little bit. The good news when it comes to that stuff is that most of the things that traditional paints do on their own are just wonderful. So I kind of try to lean into it as much as I can, because my traditional paints will do things that I'll have trouble doing myself. Zelrig, hello, welcome today. It's good to see ya. I'm glad to see you this time. We are painting water. Thanks. Amy says she personally has a hard time deciding when something's finished, and I end up overworking a piece. How do you decide for yourself when to stop? That's a very good question, and I totally get it. The answer is that you can never decide when something is finished if you don't have a goal. And if you have a goal, a specific goal that you're trying for, then you can finish something. And that sounds nice in theory, and it's really hard in practice, because a lot of the times you might change your mind halfway through, and that's the problem with a lot of things, is that you start changing your mind halfway through, and then you're just not, you can't finish something that way. And if a piece is about something different at the end than it was at the beginning, then all the decisions you made at the beginning are kind of just irrelevant decisions. It's I would say it's self-sabotage, but a lot of the time it's also like a lot of people who are artists love the discipline of art, right? Like, I love the discipline of art. I love to get good at art, but there's no end to getting good at a discipline, because you can always be better. And so if your goal is perfection, if your goal is the, you know, accumulation of a discipline, then you're never gonna finish, because it's, you know, the anatomy is always going to be not quite good enough, and the color is going to be not quite good enough. But if you're trying to communicate something, then suddenly, the minute you've communicated it, it's done. It's good enough. You did really well, right? It's a huge difference. So for me, like I was saying, part of the concept of more just like the pure concept of this piece, regardless of the fact that I'm communicating about water, is that there's this light that starts up in these trees and is going to come down and work its way down here without saying anything. That's what this painting is about, in a very clear sense. So this stuff down here is going to be, I can leave it. I can let it be more vague. This stuff up here, I can let it be more vague. I can not finish it and be really happy with my decision. But this stuff here, I want it to be tight. I want it to work well. And so then I can know that there are parts of my painting that I want to be well finished, well rendered, and also know that other parts of my painting don't need to be well rendered because they're more supporting elements in my communication. There's my answer. I would love to hear kind of more. I'd love to hear more from you guys. Like, what does that help at all? Does that make things worse? Let's see. Ooh. Here we go. There we go. And Doris says, it's a good reminder that the painting should have a focus. Welcome to YouTube. Mary says, I like your explanation. It helps show where it's okay to not have a render, which is my issue. Yeah, I've been there. Totally been there. Done that. And if I don't watch myself, I can get there again. It also helps. Oh, Amy says, thanks for answering. I think it does help. I like getting other people's insights. It also helps me, like, if I have that in mind, then I can make abstract decisions. Like, why is this archway getting hit by light here as opposed to like anywhere else? I really could put it anywhere else. And honestly, that up there might even work because it hits the diagonal. But I can start to make abstract decisions that just help me make decisions. If I have a goal, then decision making becomes easy. If I don't have a goal, decision making is the hardest thing ever. And over rendering is about to ensue. All right, let's see. All right, actually we're gonna put some more light up here. I don't really want it to look like the sky. But I do want it to be light. Let's see. Looks like we got a bunch of people around. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to ask any questions. If you are interested, I have a Patreon account. That kind of helps me put time into stuff like this. And I answer a bunch of questions and everything. So feel free to join me or support me over there. Or just enjoy. Let's have a look. I want to have all of this communicating these trees in the back. Like, I don't want it to be. I'm gonna bring it back to this view up here. I want it to be relatively abstract, like it is. I don't have a little communication about trees back there. Up here like this. Amy says, and I don't know why. Oh, she used the word credit card. Amy says, I'd love to subscribe to your Patreon account, but you need a credit card to use Patreon. Super annoying. Yeah, that is super annoying. And it's alright. You can be a wonderful friend without being on Patreon. I get it. Oh yeah, let's put some rocks back there. So one of the really important things I want to do in working on this background stuff is I don't know if I can do it here. I think I can. Let's see, black and white. Boom. So I want to I want to communicate without changing the value too much, because I don't want your attention to go here, but I want it to be really satisfying if you do look. So if I make a black or white, I kind of want it all to merge together, and then if I keep it from being black and white, then they communicate as separate stuff. Have I seen any movies lately? Actually, no, I haven't seen any movies lately. Can't really afford to go out and see movies at this point. I do like seeing movies, but where I am, they're a bit on the pricey side. We did watch the Mandalorian. That was fun. Enjoyed that. We haven't seen all of it though, so no spoilers. Okay, I'm gonna put some roots coming out here. Oh, you're right. Here we go. I just saw the freezing that you were talking about in Honduras. Have you seen any good movies lately? So if I put a little bit of information up here, a little bit of detail, just in detailing out like one or two trees, a moderate amount, then it's gonna help us to see detail in the rest. Like I said before, I don't want to spend too much attention up there. It's not really the point. So let's come back over here. Let's have a look. Let's get these stairs just a little bit. Just communicate a little bit more. Man, I could go all out on this painting. I really want to. But I'm gonna restrain myself for here now at least. Just out of curiosity, because I'm always wanting to know how much this microphone could pick up. Can you guys hear my kids in the background? There we go. Mary says, what are the plans for this painting? Commission work or selling prints? Honestly, at this point, neither. You hear them a little bit, just barely. Okay. If it's not annoying, if it's not distracting, then I'm not going to worry about it. So the plans for this painting is really just primarily the tutorial. I mean, if anyone's interested in making prints, I will happily make a couple of prints of it. But that wasn't really the plan to begin with. And I think basically everything that I do is kind of going into a vault of stuff, and will one day be put in a book or made into a collection or something like that. But for right here and right now, I don't currently have plans. Mary says she'd love a book of these. Fantastic. It will happen. Question is when? When? I suppose when I have enough for a book. So I'm currently putting some marks on the tree. It's going to do a couple of things. One, it's going to help show the movement in the tree, the kind of the depth. And two, it's going to make it feel like there's a lot of stuff going on in the tree when there's not really a lot of stuff going on in the tree. So long as it feels like it, then we're good. It's odd as a lie. That is a wonderful, beautiful lie. I'm not sure how much time I have. I really want to put... Honestly, I just want to put moss on everything. I don't think I can quite do that. Let's get a bit more brown down here. That's nice. Boom. Oh, I see. I need some shadows coming in here. So, basically, this tree needs to be casting a shadow on the stairs. Oh man, that does so much for helping everything to feel like it's all in the right space. Yes. Alright, so now that we got that little super shadow in here, let's make sure we got those cool lights from the light source coming in from above. Let's do a little. I don't need to put a whole bunch of more information in, I don't think. For what this painting is, I might do more in time, but here Mary says, have you ever done a digital piece and painted it after, or vice versa? And Bagger says, hi, nice work. Thank you. I appreciate that. For digital to painting, yeah, actually I have. If I'm doing a pretty like serious painting piece, I'll put some thought into it beforehand digitally. Digital does a really good job of answering questions that I have. So I'll do that. Mary says, also changed my mind. I'd like a print of it. Okay, we'll do that. We'll make it happen. Just send me a message. Not on stream, and we'll make it happen. If anyone else wants one too, just send me a message. It probably won't happen in the next couple of weeks because Christmas time, but woo. Mary's potting it up there. If you guys want prints, go ahead and ask. Send me a message. Somebody's just sent me a message. How about that? Ooh. You know what? I have to head out now, guys. Sorry to bail on you. I just got reminded I need to be somewhere. Send me a message on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you guys know me from. But I'm gonna head out. It was great to hang out with you guys. See you later. Let's get this going.